among the orders to make sure I was someplace for a photo or something.
I was very, very excited, yeah.
You want to make your announcement?
Before we get started, I'd like to make an announcement that I'm actually finally completing my action item. I'm running a live video of the meeting. I'm recording it so that I can actually execute on my action item, which is the possibility of videotaping the meetings and putting them out on YouTube. So I just wanted full disclosure there for everyone before we got started.
I'll call the East Cocalico Township Supervisor meeting, May 3rd, to order. Please rise to the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. Public comment. That's not on the agenda.
Mr. Fry,
Yes, sir.
several months ago I talked to Mr. Russell about an idea I had about a question of the month. There's time to time there's big issues come up in front of the township, and we have a database there of all of our different board members, the planning commission, zoning, rec board, and most everybody has emails. And the idea was to kind of get the pulse of the community there, and most of our board members are a good cross-section of that. You know, you could add volunteers with the fire guys, and you know, whoever would be interested. Topics I was thinking about, obviously last year Alerta was something that was talked about a lot. And going forward, you know, I've heard some mixed views. Some people are in favor of going ahead with it. Some people say, no, that's a bad idea once and done. So I thought, you know, just kind of poll the community a little bit in that respect. And, you know, it would be something that, you know, I talked about partnering with Mr. Russell with it to get it going and off the ground, sending it out in an email form, giving the receiving person the option to opt out if they just really don't care about it, but basically it's just one or two multiple choice questions. And when you're talking about LERTA, a couple sentences describing what it is and what the ramifications of it are. And are you in favor of seeing a LERTA district going forward in the township? Or, you know, and a couple other multiple choices with it. You could, after that, move on to other topics the next month. You know, there's been no regional, well, there's been no comprehensive plan update for a lot of years, and with a couple zoning request changes that have come to light in the last 6 months or so, you know, I think it's agreed upon that maybe we should be going ahead with that, and you know, just get the pulse of the community on that. Perhaps another item was you're talking about on this property here, adding a soccer field or something, and you know, see what everybody's thoughts are on that. You know, I just wanted to get your feeling, maybe Mr. Carrasco's feeling as well on that kind of an idea. I think it would be a reach out to the community, and you know, maybe it'd be helpful sometime in the future on some of the decisions that have to be made.
Who would you survey? Members of the...
Well, you know, you'd start with the database you already have with all the board members in the township. There is a directory that's out there already with all of that, and you know, we could even let the unscrupulous kinds like Mr. Luongo in on it, since he lives in the township, and since we're all taxpayers, and you know, we all have stakes in what goes on.
mean,
We could survey.
the idea we could probably do, take it one step further, would be to do a doodle poll, which is what we just did successfully with Stony Point Parks Executive Working Group to get that off the ground. It'd be the same concept, instead of asking for meeting dates, we put a question out there and have people respond to it.
Respond to them, yeah.
Because that sends out the invitation.
The doodle poll sends out the invitation for everybody to respond. It's actually pretty simple to use, and we did that for them. And then everybody gets to see people's responses, or if they want to, they can stay anonymous. So,
Right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think everybody, in this kind of idea, everybody can remain anonymous unless they request otherwise. That probably let more participation happen.
My opinion on it, it's a good idea. It's one of those ideas that, I've said it before, the community, there's so many resources in the community in terms of how many people are out there that have expertise in areas that I don't have expertise in. I think it's extremely valuable to get a pulse of what people are thinking. I really do.
Maybe it would even motivate attendance in these kind of meetings, get some issues out on the table that aren't being recognized already.
Okay.
I take that's a yes.
Yeah,
No
that-
problem with it, yeah.
But that brings up another question that I have. It's interesting you mentioned that, because you mentioned doodle poll. I was curious, when was the last time our website was ever updated? Do you
Not
guys
too long
remember?
ago.
About 2 years ago, when the
Yeah.
county dropped the township's book and when the new website came out.
Yeah, so we scrambled to do something.
Okay.
I mean, for the record, our website is very difficult to administer in this township.
Yeah.
The old website that the county had provided for me was a lot easier.
That's why I'm asking, because even when I go out there, it's not real intuitive in terms of easily finding.
And when we go up later, we talk about how we put stuff on for the pool for online registration. Something that's such a simple task is very difficult with our website.
Right, because the reason I'm asking that, Jeff, is on a doodle poll, if we do have a question out there for the community, if the website's cleaned up a little bit or a lot easier to read, anybody that goes out there who didn't get an invitation, you could have a link out there that says, I'd like your, we're doing this survey, if you didn't get an invitation, feel free to click here and give us your opinion. That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
So I'll show later what we did for the pool, and then we can maybe do a little sidebar conversation right now in the meeting about it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add, and I won't speak for the police department, but if you'd like, we could have some of the calls that the police and the zoning officer get, transfer our calls to you guys, and you'll get an idea what the pulse of this community is. I'd be happy to do that if you.
I didn't throw you under the bus on the first question.
I think we got thrown under the bus. Any other public
Thank you,
comments?
Mr.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the meeting minutes for the last meeting, April 19th. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, can I motion to approve them?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those no. Motion carried. Thank you. Zoning officer.
I don't have a report tonight, just a couple of little things to highlight for the board's knowledge. As you know, I did send an email out to everybody on the board. Red Carpet Inn is no more, as we have driven by and seen. It's a milestone right there.
We're here for this long, while you were talking about that, we took photos of the email list here.
Oh,
It's
okay,
actually
yeah,
quite
great. Yeah, I took a little site visit on Tuesday, out to the site there to see what was going on. The excavator was there.
Here we go.
To the right there is part of the foundation for the main building. They are currently grinding up all of the concrete block and macadam areas. They're reusing that on site for clean fill and for certain sub-base areas. All the interior and all the other good stuff was hauled away. I don't know how many dumpsters. In fact, the chief just asked me. I'll tell you, at least a dozen have come in and out of there, and that's what I've seen. God only knows how many there were. But you're We're roughly looking at a 2+ acre site, and the new hotel will sit as a rectangular portion right in the center, and it will be surrounded 360 degrees by parking and the entrance and all that good stuff. The entrance and exit onto North Reading Road will no longer be there. They will enter this site from North Reamstown Road only. And I just petitioned Countywide Communications in Lancaster for a new address for that hotel, because it will have an address on North Reamstown. Yeah. So for EMS purposes, we need to have a North Reamstown Road address, chief will be aware of that too. But yeah, it's coming along quite well, and I sent over a few pictures, but I think Scott, you trying to bring up the others?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. My computer.
Tony, what's more or less their timetable?
They were projecting finishing and opening for fall of next year.
That's aggressive.
Very aggressive, but they see how aggressive UGI is, and they think, well, we can do that too.
Okay.
So that's, and you see, those are piles of crushed concrete block. They're just piling it off to the side. Like I said, and there's North Reamstown Road to the right. You can see the elevation difference. As far as the hotel itself, based on the initial plans, it's going to be 3 stories tall. It's going to basically be seen from the turnpike and 222 very easily. They have quite a bit of equipment out there, but they're moving very quickly, and the weather is cooperating. There's some more of the what's left of the foundation of that one portion. Now, we did find 2 wells on site. I knew of one. The other one was very close, if not in that basement. But those will be filled with aggregate concreted shut as per DEP regulations, and that'll go away because they are serviced by water, public water and public sewer. It's a good thing happening for the community.
Yep.
Mr. Luongo, is there any kind of a head count on how many rats are homeless now?
I know of 2 that were hit on North Reamstown Road, okay? Because I saw them myself.
Did you hit them?
Not me, no.
Did you arrange for proper burial?
I'll leave that up to the manager.
Any other comments?
The only other thing I did have at the last meeting, I gave my report, and I didn't have an accurate number on the new homes that were currently built. We have 14 to date, and we're only in May. 14 new homes. Built. Well, we've done 15, 16 for the whole year, previous year, so yeah, we're moving along pretty well. The only other thing that I wanted to mention, Pepperidge Farm has petitioned me for permits for renovations and additions to their site to the tune of $27 million worth of renovations. Now, what that says to me is that Pepperidge Farm is here for the long haul.
Good.
And they're a great employer in our community, and we want to see them do well. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Luongo, if they've heard of the word LERTA.
I'm not sure, Mr. Mitchell, if they heard of LERTA, but they're not stopping for LERTA. They're going full steam ahead.
Also, maybe we can look for a windstorm, take the red roof in along with the former red carpet in.
Well, you know, I agree, red roof in, you know, it's a dated property, as is the Econo Lodge. When you get some new hotels in the area, the hotels that haven't updated and done their due diligence over the years with some new amenities tend to fall to the wayside, so that may just happen on its own. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Roadmaster, Chris?
Good evening. Good evening. This past month, we attended several LTAP training classes. We cleaned up the sod and repaired any mishaps from plowing this winter. Street sweeping was done successfully in 4 days. The sweeper only had one issue. His alternator went out the last day, and the last development we had to do. We removed a layer of mulch off of Homestead's playground. If you didn't know, there was vandalism. Some kids decided to break glass bottles. So we had to haul that mulch away, get rid of it, and we basically installed 90 cubic yards of fresh mulch. We repaired the yard because it's been so wet this spring. There wasn't nothing we could do except damage the yard to get into the playground, but the people wanted the playground running. So we assisted Ehrlich in the installation of the electronic fly trap upstairs. Hopefully that works. The office will have less flies in it.
Yes, we don't have a problem with it.
We washed, serviced, and repaired the spreaders, and we hung them for the summer, and we actually serviced the berm spreader and have it strapped onto the 7017. We finished picking up sticks in all the parks to get ready for the mowing season. This past Tuesday, I did a walk around with the mowing contractor. Me and Mr. Russell walked him around showing him what he has to mow. And also this past Tuesday, we had a walk with UGI and their various contractors to go over the repairs needed for East Cocalico Heights with the Get Gas program. They're currently in there now ripping out, or digging out for the new sidewalks. That will continue tomorrow, and then they're looking at pouring all the new sidewalks Monday and Tuesday. We removed the pool tarp and hooked up the plumbing for the pool. A couple of rainy days, we serviced trucks 2006, 2008, and 3095. We made repairs to 2 manholes, or not manholes, but man-made drains on Meadowlark Drive that had issues with them. We got the Freightliner back. It still does not have a brand new hood. The gentleman said he had a Peterbilt sitting on his parking lot for a month till he got a hood. So we're probably going to be wanting that truck to blacktop, so he gave us the truck. He said, please don't wreck it. And as soon as he gets the hood, he'll give us a call and we can take it back to him and he can get the new hood installed for us. Currently, we're trying to finish our list of roads of crack sealing. We have 2 more roads to do. This temperature, that wouldn't be a good idea. That stuff won't dry. We're going to wait for, hopefully we've had 1 or 2 more cool days and we can finish those roads off. The remainder of this week, we're working on the edge of White Oak Road, making that a little more solid in case anybody decides to get off there. And hopefully, after that, we're going to start on all our pipe replacements for the roads that are being widened this year. And that's all I have.
Any questions for the roadmaster?
Looks like you found some boulders to put in down there on White Oak Road.
Corey has quite a few.
I knew you were gonna top dress it with something smaller.
Yes.
Are you gonna keep the old hood for the Freightliner?
No.
How bad is it?
Beside the headlight, there's a nice hole in it. And the whole front basically has spire cracking in it. And
If they're that hard to get, I mean,
well, he had, the issue with the Peterbilt, he said he had it sitting on the lot for a month. And when he called Peterbilt, they said, yeah, we've had it here, but we can't figure out how to get it to you. And he kindly told him, well, a phone call would have been nice because I could have sent a trailer down and picked it up. So I don't think he's too happy with his hood suppliers, and I think he'll be checking on that. And as soon as he can get it, he can get the truck fixed totally.
okay.
Any other questions?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman, as far as the fly situation in the building, I think it has gotten better. We noticed we have a real problem, but I would like to state for the record that I came back to my office a little later yesterday afternoon, came in my office, and I had a sandwich on my desk. Half of it was gone. I caught the fly trying to get out of my office with that sandwich. So I'm not sure if the actual trap is not, or if they just make mutant flies.
I'll take that and revise it.
Thank you.
Is the paving done for Stevens Road? Or,
That's the water.
oh, that's the water authority, okay.
That's the Water Authority. Yeah.
I just drove through there tonight. I wouldn't think it's done.
Okay. I was hoping not.
They've been back 3 times, they still ain't got it right, so there's a top who coming.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
You bet.
List of bills.
They don't give a shit.
Total general fund, $113,823.45.
None of them.
Total state fund, $1,245.19. East Cocalico Township Authority, hydrant rental, $14,670. Any questions or concerns? There's one thing I have a question, internet service for the pool. We don't have internet at the
Yeah,
pool, so.
I will look into that one.
So, besides, I will make a motion, the bills be paid as presented. We need a second.
I'll second that.
Any other questions or concerns? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Re-advertise unsuccessful municipal bids.
This one's secure. We had a little bit of a learning point here with setting minimum levels, reserve levels for our bids. And one thing we learned out from this a bit is we can make a change to that up to a couple minutes before the bid closes.
Oh, we can?
Which we did not know that. That would have been handy because both of those bids came right up against the reserve and didn't hit the reserve. So there's a little bit of a lesson there, so we have to re-advertise, put it out to bid, we'll drop a little bit below based off where they came in last time to set the reserve. And we'll rebid that, and then next time we'll know to kind of monitor that a little closer to, probably not set the reserve as aggressive as we did this time around. So,
Do you know, Scott, does Municipid actually do like an if sale where they notify us, this is where the number is? And
well, we still have the option to talk to the highest bidders, that's because we have that reserve amount there.
Right.
Municipid did reach out to both of the high bidders, but there was no responses back.
Okay, so they did follow
Yeah,
an
so there was
an if bid process.
Yeah, so they followed, there was a contact to the high bidders for those two vehicles, but for whatever reason, they both chose not to follow through at that point. They weren't obligated because of the reserve. Where the first one that we did successfully sell, the guy from Long Island came down, picked it up, and it's gone now. In addition to that, I'm also requesting that we actually throw the linear copier in here too to get it out of this room. So we put the two vehicles and the copier onto Municipid and advertise it accordingly.
So the motion be to approve pre-advertisement for two vehicles for municipal bid that were unsuccessful option last time, including selling the linear copier. I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those no, motion carried. Thank you. 2018 spring newsletter.
Getting this up here on the screen for you. It doesn't quite scan as well as it's going to look there, so I apologize to our supervisor and our chief of police here. But this is the newsletter that's going out. One of the things we did do in the newsletter, we did make a blurb about Stony Point Park. And I'll go over much later about what happened at the executive working group meeting, but we had a successful first meeting. That group has created a Facebook page, so we did do a quick blurb on our newsletter about the Facebook page, and we'll also put a link in on our township website to the Facebook page. The other thing is again, we made mention of the online option for the pool. We once again reference our website. That will actually, there's some minor changes that need to occur tomorrow, but it'll be up and running by Monday. Actually, somebody could get on it now, but there's we have to make one more addition to the web page right now, we'll show later when we talk about the pool. So that is the newsletter, and pretty much everything else is just kind of standard fair stuff we put in the newsletter at this point. So we're looking for your permission for us to send this to the printer, and then we'll be in the hands of all the residents the third week of May.
Quick question, I don't remember. When we looked through it, was the new Twitter account for your department and?
I don't think that got on there.
Yeah.
Probably on that right away.
Twitter and Snapchat, right?
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah, I don't see it.
What are you looking for? Yeah, we don't have that many students.
Okay, we missed-
We'll have to do that in the summer newsletter.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd make it in time, because that just came out. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We can sneak it
Okay,
in
what's
there.
your wish?
I'll make a motion that,
To send it?
to send it to the printer.
Okay, I'll second the motion. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, thank you. Cocalico number 4, Garden Spot Road Bridge Replacement Detour Permission to utilize Wabash Road.
Yes, this is a county bridge. It's actually an effort of township. But they are needing to utilize Wabash Road as part of their detour. It is a very minor detour other than when Green Dragon Day is going on. And it's a little bit more to it at this point. Pulling up on the screen here. So this is the detour route. Shrink down. So it's basically Garden Spot 272, and our part would be on Wabash Road. So here's the Wabash Road part. And they're just requesting permission to utilize township roads for the detour. I mean, a county bridge is a local bridge, so there is no PennDOT option for a county bridge. And the traffic, I said, is really just on Mondays. It's going to be probably on Wabash than what they're used to.
And the Wabash Road Bridge was done a couple of years ago too.
It was done by the county, and at that time they used Garden Spot as their detour.
Correct, yeah.
So it kind of goes both ways.
Yep.
Should they do the same, like with the PennDOT, that they take pictures of the road?
They will, but you're not going to be, this is not a truck ride. The biggest thing you try to have is just one day a week. The traffic is normally heavy on Garden Spot, will be on Wabash Road. And it'll be about 3, 4, 5 month process. Probably up to 5 months as the bridge will be closing, the detour will be up at this point. But I'm not anticipating any road damage with this.
That's from effort of doing their work.
Well, this is actually a county-owned bridge. So it's one of the counties, I can't remember now, 52 bridges that they got, so.
Garden Spot's the line between east and west. I mean, east and effort. Okay, I'll make a motion. Huh?
Mr. Russell, is Garden Spot Road is not posted for trucks, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of,
What
no.
about Wabash? Is it?
I don't believe Wabash is either at this
I
point.
think it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Is it?
I think Wabash.
Yeah.
Well, North Reamstown is, or South Reamstown is.
No, read on it.
South Reamstown is North Reamstown.
I do stand corrected, it was part of, when we did the 272 postings, that would have been part of it.
So what's a truck to do if he wants to get to Green Dragon on Friday and he can't go in Garden Spot Road? He uses Wabash and it's posted.
He goes around.
Goes around.
I don't know where the go around part is.
Greenstown and on Greenstown Road or after that?
Yeah,
and down to
Greenstown.
He couldn't get the Green Dragon through our township.
No, he couldn't.
Be involved.
Yeah. Come back up from effort.
So with that bit of information, if you could approve the detour, the next meeting, I might ask you to temporarily lift the truck restriction
Okay.
on Wabash Road.
We'll table that for the next motion.
Well, if you could approve the detour, that's
Oh, just approve it.
our internal function.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for catching that.
I'll make that motion to approve that detour.
I'll second the motion. Any more comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Scott,
Motion carried. Thank you.
just a question procedurally, do you send a letter from your desk to the county notifying them that we did this?
That's different.
Okay, can you remind them that, well, once we get details on this, maybe Martin was going to cover that traffic on that road?
Well, that's what we're gonna talk about. We might have to allow.
I think we have to lift it.
That's what Mr. Mitchell was talking about.
I think we're gonna lift it.
We'll have to temporarily lift on it.
Okay, but you do formally send them correspondence?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think one of the main things you have to do also is go to the management of Green Dragon for the sale and, just kind of give them a heads up, before, not
Yeah.
a week after or whatever, but.
Well, quite frankly, that's what, they have to notify all the people. What we gotta do is address the truck issue now.
Right.
So we'll look at that, maybe we talk to Green Dragon too about notifying the deliveries too.
Yeah, there's a lot of trucks that go in the door.
Yeah, I'm just, with the
That's just all.
retired roadmaster here, do you think that road is as thick as,
Which one?
the detour?
Probably
Is that
not,
basis?
probably not Wabash Road. South Reamstown Road definitely would be. That was originally 222.
Right. I mean, and that's the most direct, rather than having everybody swinging out of Wabash.
To be honest with you, what it is, I'm having a conversation with the county engineer, and and where it's a posted road, and we'll get a discussion on it.
Okay.
So the key was just to approve the detour tonight. We're months away from them closing the bridge.
Okay.
So
I just want to say, when is that going to kick in?
it's a summertime project sometime, so.
On Green Dragon, traffic's going to be a nightmare.
Jeff, to let you know, Wabash Road still gets used by trucks, because of Zimmerman Industries and, the farmers and things in the area. There's heavy trucks running on that road. Milk trucks were running on it for years. It seems to hold up, and it has been paved in years that I've been here. It's in pretty good shape.
Never usually a problem unless there's an overzealous
Well.
officer around.
That's all they need to do. Talk about logging trucks in the office.
Okay.
Farmland Trust Pebble to Preserve for June 2nd. Fire police request for Stevens Fire Company at Short Road, Stevens and Line Road.
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is pull up the map again, and we do have our fire chief here. This is a routine request that obviously involves multiple municipalities in Lancaster County, and the request is for Short and Stevens Road and North Line Road to have fire police just managing that intersection while the bike race is going on. Like I said, it is all over the county. Stevens Fire Company was asked about it, and I just recommend that we get that on the agenda just for the activation of the fire police. It is a PennDOT road, and the Farmland Trust is actually obtaining a permit from PennDOT for use of all state roads.
So we couldn't remember, Alice, 51 miles at that last meeting.
I think this is a new bike ride, isn't it?
It's on Saturday.
It's a new route, but they've done.
I was gonna say, this is new to us, because we usually have the covered bridge ones that come in hauls.
Yeah.
That's the one that usually uses our haul as a stop point. So I think this is new for us.
We must have redone that.
So, Mr. Weaver, are you riding again this year?
I've been riding in the seat of the truck.
I think,
Down to the intersection to oversee things.
I think it'd be kind of neat if our police department had a team and our road crew had a team.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
More likely with the police department, they have the bike, the supervisors join.
And I think the youngest supervisor should be part of the team
Oh.
too. I'll make a motion, we approve the Farmland Trust Pedals to Preserve be held June 2nd.
And I'll second that motion.
Any questions or comments?
The only thing I might add in there is you might want to cover for Reamstown and that, because I think that's all going to go through their section too, so they'll probably be coming in to see you relatively soon too. Because they're covering, I think it goes out to Church and over to
It
across
does.
272.
I just haven't got a request yet.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get hit, either it's gonna just happen like it usually does, or they'll come and see you later.
Right, I will follow up with Reamstown to find out what they've gotten an invite or not a request yet at this point. Mr. Chair, I think I asked that you can add to the motion that they coordinate and utilize Stevens Fire Police at Short Road, Stevens Road, and North Line Road, and contact these Cocalico Township Police the day before the event for final coordination.
Okay, that's the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Old business. Strategic budget forecast.
That one is one of my action items. I spoke with Elizabeth. She has done a considerable amount of work as we're pulling together this strategic budget forecast. She actually has finished up the 4-year projections for the police department.
That is going to potentially change, which I was going to talk to you about. I had a meeting today, a meeting yesterday, in reference to our records management system, which we budgeted some money for this year. We found out from the county that things are moving ahead a little bit faster than we thought in reference to them. They're going to have their system in 2019. we could realize some savings by starting our new system in 2019. The vendor that we're probably looking to go with is willing to take some payment now, some payment potentially next year, to actually save 20% on a 5-year usage signage. And we're going to have to probably change our email and firewall and domain from county to our department. So I got some numbers yesterday and the day before, so we could probably sit down at some point, and I'll sit down with Liz, adjust things from our side of things and go from there.
Okay. No, that's good to hear, because I mean, that's the whole point of the forecast on the budget, is we can talk about these things and look at these numbers as we go on, so that's, yep, okay. So that's where that one is, and then we'll be rolling up all of the other numbers for those 4 years related to road crew and everything else, okay? The video sorry.
Mr. Fry, this seems like this is something new for the supervisors.
We did it a couple years ago. We haven't done it lately, but we have done it.
Yes, I don't remember anything such as that.
No, it's been a couple years ago.
Okay.
It's been a couple years.
How did that, was that a multi-year projection?
I think it was 5 years.
How
It's
did,
been a while.
how did that hold out with, as the years passed by with what actually happened?
Well, certain things happened that weren't foreseen.
So, again, you're alluding to the fact that you're a little short in some areas.
Well, the forecast didn't end up being what we forecasted because of certain incidents.
Okay. To your point, Mr. Carrasco, do you pad things a little bit for that kind of circumstance, or what's your take on that?
Budgeted forecasts are extremely complex, okay? The variabilities, when you start looking at them, there's 2, 3, 4 years out, get very difficult. The way I like to look at the budgeted forecast, and that's why I want to see these 3, and Elizabeth's actually pulling it 4 years out, is because they are literally a guide, they're a work in progress. So as the chief just said, something pops up, just because we put a forecast in place or a budget in place for the next 4 years, it doesn't mean it's not going to change. It gives us a fundamental guide of how we're working, and as we can see things and as they flux back and forth. So that's how I see it. I see it as, it's a projection to give us a daily working guide as we're looking at things to see, by changing variable A, how's it going to affect it potentially, like the chief just said, if there's a potential 20% cost savings in an area that we know about now, that's going to affect us potentially next year. So that's how I see it. That's where I see the real value comes in working these forecasts.
Probably when it comes to items like pension payments and all, that it'll help keep focus to where that's headed.
Yes, yeah, and to directly answer your question, when you're working these, you put variables in there that say, okay, what are the chances that we're going to see 10% increase here, or a 5% increase there, decrease here, so you plug those numbers in there.
And how do you project when it comes to income there with the variabilities that happen with the economy fluctuating, and
you can do it the way I've done them in the past, and the way you can model it is you've got really three scenarios that are running in parallel. I don't know if we're there yet in terms of doing this, but ideally, in the perfect setting, when you're looking at a 4-year projection, you have a extremely conservative view. You have a realistic view of those 4 years. You're really running 12 different models, because you're running 4 years of a very conservative view, 4 years of a probable view, and then another 4-year view of something extremely aggressive. Okay? And then really the back and forth discussion, what Tony has going on, what the chief has going on, what Scott has going on. We all, what's going on in the community, then we kind of hone in on those three variables as to, you take the two outliers and bring them into the forecast that's the most probable. That's why I'm really impressed with how much work Elizabeth is doing on this, because this is not easy. It's extremely difficult to do. And it doesn't end. It's constantly being worked.
So, Mr. Mitchell, what we will be doing when we do our budget workshop this year is we will actually have forecasts as part of our budget workshop. I showed the board that we had done in East Hampton where we have a 5-year forecast to go with our budget workshop, and that's our goal that we're working towards for the whole budget.
Seemed like at the end of last year, there was a lot of confusion a bit on certain items with certain people, and it would be probably be helpful to have a lot of clarity going into the end of the year. I'm sure you would agree, Mr. Fry. Cat got your tongue?
I'm not gonna make a comment.
So we will be utilizing that as part of our budgeting tools. And now that I have a year under myself with the budget and having prepared it, I have a much better handle going into next year's budget, and there's not going to be as many surprises where there was for this last year's budget. Because now, quite frankly, as a manager, I kind of own the budget.
I think we all do. Thank you.
Video meetings.
Video of the meetings, as I stated earlier, thank you, Ken, for helping me with that. So I'm clear as to where I am, and what I'm doing right now is we're just videoing. I'm videoing this meeting. I'll then go back, see what's required to download it to YouTube to set a test case, to see the complexity, the time involved, so I could answer Mr. Mackley's questions related to what's the cost, what's the time involved, and all of that. So, okay.
Laura.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have started investigating things that we can be doing with Florida. I did have a discussion with the school district superintendent, and there's now a discussion occurring on their end with the school board, just like you guys are having a discussion. They do seem open to having a talk with the township, so it's kind of letting them have their conversation with their school board. Meanwhile, some thoughts that have been going through my head on the Florida side, at least would be to do a test case along the 272 corridor and maybe a portion of Colonel Howard Boulevard. What's driving that is all the for sale signs right now that have all popped up on 272. As you go down behind us all along 272 now, we have about 7 or 8 tracks in our commercial zone that are simultaneously up for sale. Biggest one being the Black Horse, the 2 corner lots on 272, Manetta's now, the barber shop, just to name a few that have things that are going on. Each one of them is in many ways different stages of, I'm going to go down the road saying a brownfield site, but they're all in need of some redevelopment at this point. And I think that this could be something that would potentially be a good tool to finally get those over heads. And if we get those sites developing or redeveloping, it'll lead to more economic activity in the township. So, like, that has been the behind the scenes discussions that have been on, and that's something of the things that I've been thinking about talking to Tony about as we've been kind of brainstorming a little bit here. There's nothing more than a thought right now in my head and Tony's.
To that point, Mr. Russell, when you start doing that, you draw a line, and there's always something on the other side of the line. And, you know, with Mr. Hollinger here this evening, it brings to mind that he didn't say anything about South Muddy Creek Road. You know, there was a property that fit the LERTA to a T redevelopment of a property. So under what your guidelines you're just laying out there, it leaves that out. And, you
I'm
know.
not saying it's all, I'll be honest with you, I'm not saying it's all inclusive, you gotta start somewhere. And that's really, that's always why I kind of look at, you start somewhere and you see what works, and then you expand it. And I do think that something along the 272 corridor in particular could possibly reinvigorate things, because the properties along here are all kind of really dated at this point. And they basically missed the last economic move after the last 8 years at this point, but your point is well taken.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I keep going back to it, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but the whole city of Lancaster is a LERTA zone. And what's wrong with being innovative and expanding it out to the whole township? If you put qualifiers on there where, you know, there's a real easy solution, because every property has a property assessment to it, as the county puts a number on it. And if there's a building project, whatever it is, going to increase that assessment number by whatever percentage you put on it, 10, 15, 20%, why not make it eligible? That way you level the playing field to every taxpayer in the township.
It's a very valid comment, and I think what I'm hearing Scott say is that's an idea as a starting point.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility that I think we're looking at that now. We're starting that process. We have a responsibility that Scott's saying this is a possible starting point. Another possible starting point is all of East Cocalico. Okay? But I hear what you're saying, and I agree in some ways. We've got to figure out what's the right model going forward.
Well, I look at it that, you know, it's when the billion-dollar corporation gets it, well, how about the guy with an $80,000 house assessment that wants to build a two-car garage or something? Here's a vehicle that would allow him to jump onto that too, and offset some of the development costs that, you know, just make this stuff prohibitive to some individuals. You know, it's not an answer, but it is a little bit of a helping hand going back to doing that. And you're putting people to work, you're increasing the assessment base, and, you know, like several school board directors said, oh, the money will come sooner or later. So, why not?
It's well taken. I hear what you're saying, and that's one of the reasons why, Jeff, you know, we have here, there's policies, there's procedures, and there's plans. We've got to put those in place. They hadn't been put in place in the past. And the starting point was UGI. That was the catalyst. So, yes, we now have that action item clearly to put those policies, procedures, and plans in place, start thinking those through, communicating them, and finalizing what those are going to be. And you know me, I don't want that to take 3 years. I don't want it to take 9 months, right? So I'm hesitating in terms of what I'd like the time frame to be, because I'm not quite sure on the legal side and the back end side. So.
And to Mr. Russell's point, it would be nice to have the school board on the same page.
Absolutely.
It appears like that
That's the
hasn't
key.
been so far.
No, absolutely.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, yeah.
But for it to be effective,
To be
the
effective.
biggest tax break is the school district.
Any dollars saved are dollars in someone's pocket, even if it's a few.
Good.
Yes.
I think a LERTA zone is a good idea. If you're going to do a limited area along 272, that could be done alone, but if you're looking at doing something bigger, it really would make sense to incorporate that into a comprehensive plan for the township, which is sadly overdue. And it would just make a lot more sense to look at the big picture rather than just one block at that time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Agreed. And I believe Alan was there and Alex was there. The comprehensive plan did come up when we had the Cocalico area leaders meeting. That was one of the items they were talking about also.
I
Is-
I think the county is working on their one.
And-
We're working on theirs.
Yeah, and coordinating that with our neighbors, with Adamstown, with West Cocalico, and Denver.
As a regional one that was done this like the last one, or should Cocalico, East Cocalico have its own?
I would actually,
Regional.
well, I would follow, I know exactly what Ken's saying. If you guys want to tie Florida to a regional comprehensive plan, and we're not talking about this year.
No,
If we
Right.
want to, if we want to look at our own plan, our own planning document, then that's a lot quicker.
It's gonna be a lot easier to do an East Cocalico comprehensive plan than to do a Cocalico regional plan, and it's gonna happen very much sooner.
completely resonate with what you're saying, and you'll see some slides coming up on some new business that we have here, where you will see, I think we should be taking the lead on a number of items. Okay, thank you.
Police pension status.
I just want to give an update. We moved back our interviews for one month as we have been reached out to. And I think we talked about this last meeting. We had our auditor put us in contact with a pension provider who has some dealings with successfully renegotiating contracts with principal. We're going to meet on May 10th, get that feedback, and then conduct interviews of our short list of pension firms with some very specific questions that we hear from that meeting. So that delays things for a week, but that delays delivery in order to allow us to hear what that consultant has to say before we do the interviews.
Okay. Focus group meeting with local business owners.
That's an ongoing item for Tony and I. But to be honest with you, we have it under old business just to kind of, as a reminder until Tony and I do something. So I've been kind of busy. Nothing else to help Tony and I right now.
Not a problem. We do have a list that I created several years ago. I do have another addition to that list with the local and the new businesses that have come in the last 5 years. Scott and I will get together, we'll put that together and we'll go from there. But we've got a bunch of it in place.
Just as a question there, is that something that Mr. Longo could take on his own, or is it necessary to coordinate with that? Or?
It is more of his lead, but I need to be helping with that. Two people make less work working together.
If one's overloaded, the other one can,
I think right now we're both.
I think we're both equally overloaded right now
But yeah,
with all the building permits he has on his desk right now.
communication is always key, and we feed off each other. I think it's a good thing. We'll get it taken care of, and he'll get them in time, don't worry about it.
Tony, with your building permits, there's a thing called a rubber stamp.
No, we
Just go
threw
like
that.
this.
We threw that rubber stamp out 10 years ago.
It got dry rot.
They got you.
I think that theory led to a problem.
Not a good thing. No, I think by Mr. Russell and I getting together, we'll get it together.
New business, police department signage.
I talked to Charlie after,
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for a moment? I'm sorry, Chief.
Yeah.
Alan, can we start with D? Because then that'll wrap in all those other items.
I don't care.
Is that
I'll give it to you,
okay?
chief.
I mean,
Okay, we're gonna, beautification strategy for East Cocalico Township.
It's all behind it.
Oh, okay. So, one of the ideas we've been thinking about in the background in terms of East Cocalico is, for lack of better terminology, it's a beautification strategy for East Cocalico. This goes back to some of the things that I had mentioned in the past, some of the things we talked about, which is we're now looking at a 4-year budget. The next question is, where do we want to be in 4, 5, 6, 10 years? How do we want the township and the municipality to look? Okay? And then Ken, some of your comments you just made earlier, this is what I meant by, in terms of taking the lead on LERTA, you'll see this is going to wrap into that quite well. So What I really think, this is my opinion at this point in time, what I really believe East Cocalico should do is we should actually aspire to lead the county and set the standard for everything that we do. I think that is the goal we should have as a community, as residents, as business owners, the chief and his department, Tony, the supervisors, everyone, the road crew, everybody, okay? Next slide, thank you. So, I think the strategy really involves 4 parallel items. Those parallel items are going to be critical to establishing that beautification strategy. And the first item on there is really, it needs the supervisor's board's buy-in and complete support. If you don't have the buy-in and the complete support of the leadership, it's never going to work, okay? Some of the things that we should look at is setting a positive image, setting the positive tone. Really, the idea is think about creating a culture in East Cocalico of higher end, higher class. Again, it's just an idea in terms of how we start to portray our image going forward. It also applies to the fire departments. It also applies to everyone related, anyone doing any kind of operations within East Cocalico. Okay? Staff morale, a reflection of the staff, the mindset, those, what I'm referring to there is the items that I just described. It's the supervisor's responsibility to then, when we do the buy-in, set that standard, encourage the staff, set the morale. Okay? Marketing and branding of East Cocalico, logos, taglines, and all of that. I have to give a lot, can I reference your wife on this one?
Sure, that's fine.
I have to give a lot of credit to the chief's wife. We were working on possible taglines, mottos for quite some time in the background. And she came up with the idea of community first, which is what we're looking at putting on on the police cars. I like that one enough, Alan, that I think that actually also would be reflective for the East Cocalico website, for who we are, for our letterhead. I think it would be very reflective of the road crew trucks, the fire trucks, all of those, carrying that same logo moving forward. It shows unity, complete unity in what we're doing. Okay? And then coordination, communication with all East Cocalico departments, basically. Okay? So that's in a nutshell the responsibility that we would have as the supervisors. Okay? So now you move to the police department. The police department, of course, is extremely highly visible, and it's, I believe, and the chief and I have discussed this, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think it's fair to say you reflect that in an agreement that your department is extremely critical in terms of setting the impression of East Cocalico, because your team's out there every single day. We'll get to the road crew. I really believe the road crew is just as important as the police department. And quite frankly, in many ways, it's more important than we are as the supervisors, because the police department and the road crew, they're out there every single day interfacing with the community. Okay? So from the police department side, I say here service and marketing mindset. What I mean by that is it's just to establish that culture that the police department and that team is aware that when they're talking to the community, when they're out in the community, sorry, but you're under a magnifying glass at all times. Okay, that's really the intent. So the branding, the car logos, the taglines we just talked about, community first. And then this is one the chief keeps throwing things at me about. But some of the things we had talked about was the 5K run. Setting up an annual police department and fire department just for East Cocalico, a 5K run, okay? Somehow coordinating that before or after the Denver Fair, don't throw anything at me. Right?
You're all right.
I recently saw a .5K run.
25.
I'm not talking about that.
Good point, good point. And then the other items were for public attention are, and again, these are just ideas that we will be, just like when we discussed in the budget, the whole intent here is constantly throwing out ideas and concepts in terms of potential seminars. Does the police department somehow get, our police department, with the knowledge that they have, the talent pool they have, do they somehow get involved in some more seminars? Again, visibility for East Cocalico, visibility for the police department. Such as defensive driving for the students. I don't even know if it's feasible or not, but again, just ideas. Public safety, personal driving, cyber safety, cyber meaning computer, the kids on emails and the kids on visiting websites that they shouldn't be when they're younger, things like that. And then the other one, which is a big one, is I'm plagiarizing this one from an article I read, but apparently elder security for cyber security is becoming a really big deal. And I didn't realize that because there's a whole generation there that is not aware. My parents, they're not. My dad on his computer help desk at least once a week because he goes and clicks on every email he gets, and all of a sudden he gets a virus. So, next slide. Same idea as I mentioned with the police department for the road crew. Highly visible. They are absolutely critical in setting an impression of East Cocalico. If you notice, the wording's identical because I really do believe the road crew is just as important as the police department. They're out there every single day. In many ways, I think you'll agree, Alan, they're a lot more important than we are because we're not out there every single day. Okay? And then for them, specific to the road crew, it's simple things like, but they are very important, things like extra care during operations, assignment ownership of equipment, conditions, and images. Some of the things Chris and I and Scott have talked a little bit about in terms of do what the military does, do what the Air Force does, assign a crew chief, assign one individual to one piece of equipment, and then that individual is responsible for taking care of that equipment. When they have that ownership, you know they're going to really take care of it. Okay? And then finally, zoning. So in this case, it's putting one individual on the hook, and I know that he does not have a lot to do, but I'm just going to add some more. Some ideas again is lead coordination and management of all the above. I think all of those items somehow, Tony, have to morph into an umbrella that reports to you and Scott. Okay? One of the things, I'll show you a couple of slides, is banners on the beautification. A lot of municipalities are now doing the fire banners, veterans, and schools. I will show you some photos when I was on a trip out in Colorado. I know for a fact that we have a number of Eagle Scouts. We have a couple of students, I believe, that were Olympic athletes. There's a lot of artwork with some of our kids. Again, putting up banners that represent, that highlight these achievements in our community. So when people drive into the community, they see that. Okay? Focus groups, actually that was on the list, so the focus groups. And then the other one that we had talked about, and Tony, that involves, again, it's you and Scott and us, of course, in all of this, is things like, that'll come from the focus groups. Do you streamline, do you improve, do you update zoning, building, land development? And those were some of the things we were already working on anyway. So that's the general idea. There's a lot there. But now you see the general concept of the beautification. Okay? Next slide. Here's some of the banners that I wanted to reference. If you could zoom in, you can't zoom in, but this is really interesting. This is in Colorado. I'd never seen this before. I stopped into one of the small local businesses and I asked. They actually have a competition with the school kids in the art department And what happens is, in the art department, what they do, the kids submit their artwork, the local businesses pay for the banner, or the parents will pay for the banner, the municipality will put it up. So this one actually says 4th grade Parker L, of a koala it looks like, and this one's a flower, and this one says Brianna F, 2nd grade, I think it says 2nd grade. Allentown is now starting to put those up. They're starting to do a beautification program of their own. That's just another example. And then, again, Kyle M, 5th grade, a bird. But they had this downtown district. Of course, we don't have a downtown district, understood, but ideas for us to think about. They did this in a downtown district, and it was amazing to see it. And the unity when you walk into a business and you ask, okay? And then this was one the chief and I had talked about, and Scott. This is Lidditz. And I happened to be walking past it during Fire and Ice, and there it was, duty, integrity, and respect. But then that's when your wife, by the way, she didn't copyright that, right?
No, I don't
Okay,
think
good.
so.
She's not allowed to copyright it. Community first. So, again, just examples, okay? And I think that's it. So, that's the idea behind the beautification strategy. We need to talk a lot more about it, but it's the start of that discussion. That's the intent. Okay?
Where do I go?
So then, yeah, I'm sorry, Alan. Sorry, Chief, that's why I wanted to do that one first, because basically then you can come back to the signage.
Signage.
I talked to Charlie Eckert the other day. They were having some issues with their internet. Windstream was out there helping them. But he dropped off a hard copy to start to look at. We're still in the process of looking at that. So it's a work in progress. But it looks much better than what we have or what is out on 272. So I think, if we combine the two, do them at the same time once we get a better idea of things. So we are working on that.
Great.
Good.
And I did mention at the last meeting, I spoke with the property owner that to sign both of those signs, there's two, one for Dutch Cousins and one for the municipality. The owner said, not a problem, whatever the police department needs will be fine. So he's willing to work.
Great. Great. Thanks, Alan.
Is
Thanks.
there electric there for that one, or what's that status?
He thought there was, but I haven't seen that sign lit up in at least,
Yeah, but I think it might be just the internal parts of it.
it may be, yeah. So there may be electric there to tap into.
Or if somebody shut a circuit off, if it's just,
It doesn't look like the sign's been really tended to.
Kenny?
Like I said at the last meeting, the electricity to that sign's come off of the big billboard that's on the corner of Pepperidge Farms as we drive down towards our township.
Yeah.
The big billboard up there, that's where
The electric.
and the electric, over the years that I worked there, we've changed that electric numerous times. The groundhogs are in there, chew the wires off in the ground. It's just a wire that's laid in the ground. It's not in conduit or anything else. So that's probably where you're at.
And I'll add to that, the billboard, the large billboard came up in conversation with Mr. Fout, who owns that property. That billboard is on his property. Now, the billboard is being rented out by Lamar. Lamar is not paying the owner of that property in any way, shape, or form for the billboard that's on his property.
there's no lease for that? There should be a land lease for that.
Should be something, yeah. I told Mr. Fout, I said, you might want to make a phone call to Lamar and find out what's happening. He hasn't received a dime for that billboard in many years. Yeah, and they're renting it out, it's like MGS Trailers is on it right now. But the electric was a good point, because we weren't sure.
And if there was a meter on the bottom of that thing, there's a meter that was read for the electric use and them two signs up there.
Okay.
And we are talking about LED lights, so that should keep things to a minimum for that.
Sure.
Okay.
Web-based service for the police department.
It seems to be going well. I've been able to post more things. We actually just had a person graduate from the youth aid panel training. Put that on. She's going to sit on one of the panels And when a juvenile gets arrested, they don't have any previous arrests, and you have to go through that, and then the arrest gets expunged if they complete the program. It's worked very successfully over the years. So, you know, I have to get all the information in reference to that for next meeting, but I put it on there right away when I got the pictures. So, you know, as we do stuff, especially in the summer now, things are getting nice, we will put that on there, and it will be tended to hopefully daily. So.
Good. Okay. Reamstown EMS.
At our last meeting, Mr. Rocky had made a formal request, which he had talked to me privately before that, about forming a working group to look at the future of EMS services in the township. And at that time, the board acknowledged that would be a good idea. On the township side, it would be just 2 people, manager and 1 supervisor, and then it would be 3 on the EMS side, including Scott. I'm just asking the board about who's going to be my supervisor that will join me for this working group, and then we'll set that meeting up.
It's up to you. I can do it or you can do it. Okay.
And I will reach out, I told him I would ask you guys to now, tell him that RC is going to be the contact, and then we'll set a meeting up in the next week or so to start that working group to look at things, so.
Thank you.
2018 budget item discussion.
That's one of my action items. I sent out correspondence to get some clarification on the 2018 budget items from our last meeting, and I'm waiting for a response on that correspondence.
Okay.
Now, what I would like to keep this as a recurring item under old business going forward. And what I could do is I'd like to emphasize like things that we've done budget related, especially areas where we control the cost budget related. So one item I'd like to point out is with our new phone system, which was purchased last year. It's being installed, go operational tomorrow. It's in my management report, I'll talk about it now. With that new system, it is going to greatly reduce our communication costs in the township. We technically have 1 telephone line coming into the whole building instead of multiple lines like we had before with the old copper-based system. So we have 1 T1 line into the building, and basically 23 lines that feed off of that. It's all digital now. One thing that allows us to do is the township is paying a very hefty fee right now for long-distance phone calls through AT&T. So if you looked on your bills that were approved tonight, you had over an $800 bill for this month for AT&T. So after Friday, we get to turn AT&T off. So we will be basically knocking about $5,000–6,000 a year off of our budget communication costs just for long distance cost alone. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that as we're kind of looking at every item that we're kind of trying to control costs. But there's a cost saving measure right now with the program we're putting in place with the new phone system. By going this digital system and eliminating a long distance carrier in the process. We will still have the ability to do long distance. We have to spend a heck of a lot cheaper with the new system. And with the new system we have in place too, if we go over, we have like the same number of minutes we had AT&T before. We're paying like half the overage of what we was charging. So the police have a bad month where there's a lot. Basically, most of our long distance calls, they have a bad month because of a case, and they're having to call Colorado or something. You know, we're not going to pay what we were paying before we did.
Okay. Manager's report.
Can we back up one? I'm sorry. Can I add one to do, well, I don't know if it goes under new business or not. I apologize, I didn't know if it should go under Chris or for you, Scott. Could we ask, well, let me take a step back. Can I make a comment not as a supervisor at this point in time, just as a resident of Quail Hollow? Can you guys take a look at the four-way stop sign at Egret Circle and Sanderling? Yeah. Egret Circle and Sanderling, there's the four-way stop sign there. That's now the cut through for the development in the backside. And it's just 30 miles an hour through that four-way. I was wondering if we could upgrade those stop signs or at least paint a walkway in that intersection there or something. Because I saw it this afternoon when I was walking the dog. One of the kids hit a ball out into that intersection, and I don't know if they were 8 or 9 years, but they couldn't have been more than 8. They just went barreling after it, and somebody's coming the other way, and they went into this.
We'll be in Quail Hollow actually next week, with spray patch areas, so
Okay.
we can take a look. at
You'll
their
see what I mean.
section,
Yeah.
so, that'll be out
And
there.
I think the dilemma there is gonna be that, the development behind ours, that's now the cut through to go over to 222, and then they're cutting back through there.
And we had a similar point brought up about Stony Point, and the other, that's becoming a cut through. And Officer Fisher actually asked where I want the speed trailer to go next, so that's where it's going. So we can get an idea, just like we did in Denver Borough and East Lancaster Avenue. We got a focused time, and then we acted on it, and tried to slow people down. It's another issue, another area, and I'll definitely put it out to everybody that that's becoming an issue. And I'm not saying we're not in developments all the time, but especially with summertime, we try to hit all the developments as much as we can, so I'll put it out there.
Thank you.
And I'll take off my manager hat and just put on my regular hat. There's just a general disregard for speed laws anymore on residential streets. And some of it, the worst ones are actually the people that live in the specific development they're racing through. And this is a common complaint in pretty much any municipality anymore, and to the point that police departments are getting frustrated because they can't put enough speed details out to address all the complaints that are coming in. We identify areas, I will work with Chief, there might have to be some things that we look at that go beyond just on speed details, but they cost money. Narrowing the street is the most effective way to slowing traffic down. Also, the way we designed our streets in the township over years, in the worst case streets, I would give an example. The worst would be the Morganshire streets. They're almost 40 feet wide with curb, large lots, no on-street parking, and they're straight. What are people going to do 25 on a street like that now? It's not designed for people to do 25. It's designed for people to do 35, 40. And that's what people's natural tendency is going to be. We have, over the last couple of years, narrowed our streets, so future developments are not as wide as those older developments. But those older developments are going to give us a lot of grief for years to come because they are speed magnets with the way they were designed. And the chief cannot, no matter how much he tries, he cannot be at all places at once with all his police departments. So we are going to, developments moving forward, like what's going on with Heatherwood, it's narrow streets, it's curves, it has dips that slows vehicles down. But for streets like Morganshire, even Stony Point, around the park area, we're probably going to do something there. Quail Hollow would definitely be streets of walk, they're designed too wide. And quite frankly, this is a mindset, and this goes against the whole complete streets concept. A lot of our residential streets shouldn't even have sidewalks. Because that gets people walking in the street, you walk in the street, you slow traffic down. With our design that we have done over the years is encouraging people. So as we're kind of talking about strategic planning and comp planning and stuff like that, we can make these complete streets a wide, have bike lanes, which makes them even wider, put the sidewalk in, and all that's going to happen is people are going to speed in this situation. And that's a concept that's lost on all of our central planners that thinks that kind of stuff is a great concept. It just promotes speed. So I'll get my soapbox.
Okay. No, thank you. Speed, back to being a supervisor. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Actually, what's happened over the last week, I almost didn't have time to put a manager's report together. Morganshire, today we walked the punch list items, and they only have a couple small items to complete, And then the punch list will be done for roadway dedication. So we're still waiting, there's literally about 6 items left on the roadway elements that they need to address, including a street sweep and cleaning up inlets. And we also just need to get the as-built surveys, which I've heard has been completed. We're waiting for that to come from the engineer, as well as the legal descriptions to put the deed of dedication together. I'm anticipating we're about a month out, maybe 6 weeks out from dedicating the road spot. I also want to just publicly go on the record, and I'm not going to give too much detail, but we've been working really closely with Patty Brubaker, the widow of Scott Martin, who inherited that project. She's not a developer, but she has gone above and beyond what a typical developer would do in that situation, to the point that it has become an expense for this project. And so the paving that we got done and accomplished, there was a donation of amount, I'm not going to say, that came from her own personal pocket. So this is not a moneymaker development for her, but she's doing the right thing. So I just wanted to kind of go on the record for that. And I'm going to have a conversation with the homeowners association, just to kind of make them more aware of actually what a good developer they have through her, because she could have walked just like the Heatherwoods developer, and financially that would have been a better decision to walk, declare bankruptcy, and make it somebody else's problem. Instead, she did the right thing. So I just wanted to go on the record for that for her. The rec board, next recreation board will be next Tuesday. We did hold our first Stony Point Park Community Build Executive Group meeting on Tuesday the 1st. The group organized, discussed recruiting, budgets, consultant selection. I have not had a chance yet to write a little brief on that, but I will have a brief put together for the rec board meeting. One of the things that we discussed at the rec board meeting that came out of that working group meeting with the executive group was they are asking for what is their budget on the township side to work with. And so they need to have a number. I will work with the rec board to kind of look at what we have for dedicated funds, and then have the rec board make a recommendation to the board of supervisors at the next meeting.
Okay.
So that you guys can then give that guidance to the executive group for them to utilize in their budget planning. So that when we interview the consultants, we can have a ballpark range, so the consultant can then give us an idea of hours and stuff like that, price proposal back.
Okay.
The poll update, Missa Pay, the web application is now online and set up. And we can now start taking credit card payments. We have one more minor tweak to work on tomorrow morning on the registration form, and then we are absolutely ready. I will actually pull it up on the screen. This goes into our website in a way. This is how stuff appears. I've been working with Lisa about how we get things actually readable with our website. We've been working with Revise, and Revise is just not an easy entity to work with to make things user-friendly and intuitive to somebody who's actually visiting our website. But that being said, you click the Reamstown pool. Again, not the most intuitive. There's all the rules. And you click down to the bottom here, and you basically start the online registration. So we have a registration where you fill out information. There is a submit button. We have some additional notes that are going to go in here there. So this is not completely ready yet, but there will be notes in here about putting your application out to take to the pool. Then you go here to go into Missa Pay. Redirects you. The Missa Pay website is awesome. And they've been very easy to work with. You can pick your different pool things. So you can go adult on share, and then there's the pool rate. They would fill in all the billing information there. And then there's the final instruction that's not yet on here, but will be here tomorrow. Step 4 is to take your application and your receipt down to the pool for a photo ID. So it is in place. There is one minor change that we have talked about making, and that is when we talked to Missa Pay, it became pretty apparent that having an early bird registration and then trying to flip to online payment was gonna create some accounting issues, because people could be 2 o'clock in the morning, in theory, applying for something, and there's not somebody there flipping the switch. So to simplify things, the best way to do this, what's in the newsletter, is to just have an online option and a pay at the pool option. An online option is your early bird, and pay at the pool. If somebody pays with a credit card, in the end of the day, they're probably saving $5 or $6 when you figure in the credit card fee versus playing at the pool. So there's still a financial incentive for somebody to do this, but there's no reason for us to flip the switch and make it a different rate after Memorial Day weekend. It's just gonna create a mess that the auditors will have to clean up later. So I'd like to keep it one rate for paying online, and then one rate down there at the basically at the full rate. Like I said, we're only talking a couple dollars difference between both rates when you factor in the $3 surcharge or the, I forget what the percent, 2.whatever% fee that we're paying for above whatever, $3 or 2%, whatever's higher. But we are basically ready to go live with that, with this situation. That's our web,
Except for our website.
And this is, again, you're looking on the screen, this is what's on my laptop right now. It's not a great, it cuts, the website cuts stuff off, and Lisa has been in discussions with them. The website provider does not, a lot of website providers will resize based on the screen that you're utilizing. This does not do that. So, and it doesn't matter whether you're using Chrome or Explorer. You have text over text. And we already cleaned this up. We got rid of a lot of the address and stuff so you can actually start reading this stuff, but it's still just not a good website.
You can't use the website on the phone, can you?
You can use it on the phone, but again, it's not stellar on the phone either. Yeah, it does convert to a phone app.
It does confirm, yeah.
But it's still, it's not stellar.
They told us to convert to a phone app, but didn't say how good.
Yeah, but it's still hard to read.
Yeah.
The way it's set up.
So it cuts stuff up. Another thing, I mean, a lot of times you have video banners here for some of your better websites. You have some quick hit buttons at the top. They're much more intuitive. You have a lot more options on the side where you can put things that are a lot more. We're actually limited to what we can put on the side here with this website. We do have Jason Wellman is right now trying to put together our website for us. So we'll see what he comes up with.
Oh, that'd be good.
So that might be an upgrade over what we have right now. So he's using his IT guy and he's doing a pro bono for a township right now. But I just wanted to make you aware, I mean, Lisa in particular went through a lot of hoops just to get that simple form on there. It was not easy. And when we go to hit submit, I asked revise. You know, normally when you get online data, it gets in a format where you go in the database. Here we get, no matter what we do, we're going to get an email and someone still has to manually type in what people will put on the website. There's no way, there's not that step where we can have it basically go into the database and go into access.
It's not linking to access.
Yep. That was another thing we found out through this process. So we got something that works, but the website's not friendly for it at this point. We did place this in our newsletter that you just approved, and on Monday we will place a hot link under the Welcome to East Cocalico. The pool says very intuitive to somebody, at least that way, that's where they go to pay at the pool. Our next pool working group meeting is going to be Tuesday, May 8th. As we talked about in the pension actuarial RFPs, we have our short list, but we delayed by a week setting up interviews. We were going to have that May 10th meeting with consultants to learn about ways we can modify our agreement with principal, and then we'll use what we hear from there in our interview process with the shortlisted firms. As Chris had talked about earlier, our road work has begun at this point, as well as identifying areas to be crack sealed. We are looking at areas that we can do the spray patching. Quail Hollow will be one of our focus areas at this point. because that road, those roads are just starting to turn, so we would get treatment down them to kind of stabilize those roads. We have a couple other neighborhoods we're also going to be looking at the use spray patching. Key meetings that occurred, we had the Cocalico leaders meeting, and we are following up on the fuel information request the school district put out. It does seem like that would be a good number for both police and for public works. Could be anywhere from a 60 to $1 a gallon savings right now with what we're paying. I did have a concern that was raised by our roadmaster about emergency situations, and this wouldn't prohibit us still from going to Turkey Hill or Sheets if there was an emergency. But this would certainly be for the routine day-to-day stuff. That sounds like it has the potential to save some money. We did have a pre-planned meeting with Stephanie Concrete on the 25th to look at expansion options that they're considering there on their site. On the 26th, I spent a couple hours on the Denver Road Project Bridge watching the deck repair occur at this point. We do have some minor puddling, but I'd say the puddle's been reduced by about 90%, and it's now down to like 1/8 of an inch versus the inch puddle that we had before. So any additional repairs at that point will get to the point where it's done more damage than help. So I'm satisfied with the work that they've done, and we just need to get them to put a sealant down. And we have been putting actually in the little 2 foot by 4 foot, 1/4 of an inch puddle that still remains there. We're going to have them put a thicker sealant down, which actually fill most of that in. So I do appreciate the work that they've done to fix their mistake. UGI get gas. This was talked about earlier by Chris, but we did walk the areas to be restored. We are getting a lot of phone calls right now by residents because all the spray paint's on the sidewalks, and I've already fielded a couple angry phone calls that calm people down that yes, they are actually going to get their stuff repaired. We do have a plan to go out there and inspect the sidewalk once it's excavated, and then to inspect the concrete pours that are going to occur next week. On the MS4 side, we have no updates. There is some ag work I need to work on. We still need to set the B&B holder meetings up, and maybe we're going to roll that in with the business owner meetings that Tony and I are talking about and kill 2 birds with one stone. Tomorrow, I will be at southern part of Lancaster County for the County Emergency Management Plan. That's going to be presented by the county of East Fillmore Township. It's going to be an exciting event, I'm sure. And we have a meeting on the 9th with Wabash Landing. We're going to discuss possible plan changes for their phase 2. And also the 9th, I have an Eagle Scout project meeting at Sunny Point Park. Planned activities, we've got UGI Get Gas roadway restoration work, which will be going on for the next couple of weeks. That will be inspected by township staff. I did finish the review of the Grayville rezoning text amendment. My comments were forwarded on to the Planning Commission, as well as to the consultant that Mr. Grayville is using to address some of the concerns about noise barrier in particular for reducing the setbacks in the village of Stevens. On Heatherwood's side, I did talk to Abel Construction. He's going to be the contractor for Heatherwood's for addressing the punch list items for the bond. We are in the process. I gave him a series of dates. We're waiting to see what dates work for Rexon to fly in to meet with both Abel and with the township. So basically, it's what date works for the bonding company. We gave them about 10 dates for them to choose from. We do have continued work, and Tony showed the work with True Denver with the demolition occurring. I have not gotten a chance yet to start the no truck study for Naperville Road, but that is something that does need to occur. The phone system upgrade will be tomorrow. There will probably be a short period of time where there's going to be some telephone interruptions. There was a training session that we held on Wednesday, but I'm sure there'll be some small minor learning curves as people learn how to transfer and stuff like that. But I think the staff was impressed about the new capabilities that come with the phone versus the old phones that we had that were more of a rotary style at this point. It's back to that date.
Have you used a courier pigeon yet?
He's the height.
So, and then we do have the next committee bid, next executive committee meeting for Stony Point Community Park that will do a doodle poll to get set up. That definitely was successful. I kind of got us over the hump. At the last meeting, we had about 15 that were actually there to actually form the group, which was very helpful. We had 6 or 7 that had expressed interest actually to serve on the executive committee. If I weren't able to attend, but I certainly get everybody's attention. And I'll leave on my management report the policy discussion items that we have talked about in the past that they draft for myself. So with that, that's my management report.
Any questions for Scott?
Was it?
Ken?
Not really a question, but a comment. I seen that the Raleigh Mac operation that we did last year on South Reamstown Road, between 30 South Reamstown Road and the school, has a few areas in there that peel off. We're gonna be doing more Raleigh Mac operation this summer. They could possibly address that at the same time. They should be responsible for 18 months on that project.
We did talk to Stewart and Tate, and actually when they come out, they're doing those repair works. So we do have that already flagged with them.
Good.
So,
Motion to adjourn?
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Val?
Just a quick question, not only business, but is your colleague okay? He's not ailing, he's not absent because of
I
illness?
think he's not in the area this today.
yeah, he's on vacation.
They're on
He's
vacation.
out for a whole week.
That's good news, thank you. So,
Right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.